When there's a battle between your head and your heart, which one wins? And how does that make you feel about yourself? You're listening to Pure Light, where we explore how you can believe in yourself and be happy with who you are so that you feel worthy of your craziest dreams and confident in your power to make them happen. My name is Ailey. I'm a coach, writer, and yoga and meditation teacher. This is episode 109. So in the last episode, I talked about how I had a habit of going into my head when I was faced with uncertainty to try to avoid that feeling of discomfort that comes along with it. And even when I was initially excited about whatever possibility was in front of me, I would kind of shut it down because I was basically acting on autopilot. Like that feeling of uncertainty would trigger a habit of trying to avoid the feeling and then lead to me either making a safe choice or no choice at all and letting the opportunity pass me by. So I've had some epiphanies since I recorded that episode about what led to that habit being created and the impact it had on me. So that's what this episode is about. So when I was in my last year of high school, I felt the pressure to figure out what I wanted to do with my life because it seemed like everyone was asking me, where do you want to go to school? What are you going to study next year? And the thing that really excited me was nutrition. I wanted to study nutrition at University of Guelph. And when I was looking at the brochure for Guelph, I noticed their engineering programs were a bit different. They weren't the typical engineering programs like civil, chemical, electrical, and so on. They had stuff like water resources engineering, and that really intrigued me. And when I was talking to my parents about what I wanted to do, my dad was like, engineering's a good degree to have. And I was like, he's right. And there was a big cultural myth that if you get a good degree, you'll get a good job and then you'll be set for life. And I didn't feel that same level of security with nutrition. I felt like I would be missing out on something if I didn't take this opportunity to study engineering, because engineering seemed like the path to set myself up for success. And so even though nutrition was the thing that I really wanted to study, I ended up applying only to engineering because it seemed like a better idea. And I applied to what was at the time the hardest engineering program in Canada, which was at U of T in Toronto. And I applied thinking I wouldn't get in because it was really hard to get into. Like I was a straight A student, but I really didn't try that hard in high school. My average was a little lower than what I heard I would need to get in. But I had a lot of extracurriculars. And anyway, they let me in, which was really unexpected. And I had to make a decision about whether or not to go. So if engineering seemed like a good idea, this prestigious program seemed like an even better idea. So I felt like I should do this. And my mother, who was a high school guidance counselor at the time, asked me, like, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yeah, I want to do this, because I was scared of missing out on that opportunity, even though my heart wasn't in it. And when I made that decision, here's what it felt like. So there was like a sinking feeling in my stomach, and there was like a crushing sensation or heaviness in my chest. And there was also a sense of contraction in my throat. So it didn't feel good. I made this decision over 20 years ago, and I still remember what it felt like now. I was not excited about it at all, but I felt like I had to do it. I totally ignored my feelings and my body, and I rationalized that eventually it would pay off because it was a good program. So I was like, somehow it'll be worth it in the end, even though I was not excited about it at all. So in the moment that I made that decision, I betrayed myself. I abandoned who I was and what I wanted, because I totally ignored my feelings and my body and my desires. So when you have a choice to make, it isn't just about option A, option B, option C, like whatever those are for you in the material world. It's also about which part of yourself you're going to listen to, which part of yourself you're going to trust to make that decision, your head or your heart. Your feelings will always tell you the truth, and your body will always tell you the truth. Your head will rationalize and justify and try to figure out what the best decision is. And I have a theory about what ends up winning when you lose that connection with your heart. You do what you think you should do. You do the thing that is most closely aligned with the rules inside your head. You do the thing that aligns the most with the ideal self you have in your head. That idea of who you think you should be that I talked about in the episodes related to self-judgment. So for me, in this case, I was telling myself, I should do this because it's a good idea. Other people want this and would be so excited about this opportunity. I should want this. I should feel excited about this. So that was the story that I was telling myself, which was based on me thinking that the conventional path would be better than my inner knowing. The moment you make a decision that aligns with the ideal self is the moment that you default to what's normal, or to what people expect of you, or what society expects of you. Because that is the idea that you can most easily rationalize. That's part of what forms the rules inside your head and that ideal self inside your head. And that moment is also the moment that you lose touch with yourself. Because you're talking yourself out of your feelings because of the ideas in your head about who you think you should be. And when you do this, you create breeding grounds for more self-judgment to happen because you aren't being true to yourself and you're acting in a way that perpetuates the idea that you shouldn't be who you are. By doing that, you give power to that idea because you're acting as if it's true. And you're also sending a signal to the universe and your subconscious that how you feel does not matter. Because instead of following that excitement or delight, you're talking yourself out of it. And this is how you contribute, albeit usually unconsciously, to the experience of low self-worth. And it also creates insecurity because you're behaving as if your feelings and desires don't matter, as if you shouldn't want what you want, which leads to you second-guessing yourself and then never even trying for what you really want. Glennon Doyle Melton posted a quote on Instagram recently from her latest book, Untamed, which just came out. I haven't read it yet, but I am really looking forward to doing that. And here's the quote that she posted. In my 30s, I learned that there's a type of pain in life that I want to feel. It's the inevitable, excruciating, necessary pain of losing beautiful things. Trust, dreams, health, animals, relationships, people. This kind of pain is the price of love. The cost of living a brave, open-hearted life, and I'll pay it. There's another kind of pain that comes from not losing beautiful things, but never even trying for them. I've felt that kind of pain. I recognize it on others' faces. It's the pain of a woman who has slowly abandoned herself. So if you think back to what I was talking about in the last episode, about how habits form, the first time or the first several times that you do something, it's a decision. It's not automatic. But if you repeat the same pattern a few times, like the same choice or the same behavior, it can become automatic to the point that you don't even notice that you're doing it. So when I chose to ignore my excitement about studying nutrition, that was a choice. When I decided to apply only to engineering, that was a choice. And then when I had to make a decision about where to go to school, I already had that previous experience of ignoring my feelings and doing the thing that I thought I should do. So in the midst of facing uncertainty about my future, I made several major decisions that totally ignored what my feelings and my body were telling me. And I set myself up to create the habit of abandoning myself. And I have no doubt there were many more smaller decisions along the way where I was excited about one thing and then defaulted to the thing that I thought I should do. And that's how that pattern was formed. That's how it became a habit and something that I did on autopilot. And that's also why I would have this inner monologue that was like, I should be happy. Why aren't I happy? And it was confusing because I felt like I was doing all the right things. My life looked good on the outside, but on the inside, like I felt like shit. And I blamed myself because I thought I was the problem. And for an entire decade, I kept feeding into that because of that unconscious habit of making decisions that ignored my feelings. When you make decisions based on what you think you should do, instead of what you actually want, you abandon yourself because you end up acting in a way that fulfills other people's expectations instead of choosing to fulfill yourself. But when you listen to your heart and your body and your inner knowing, you stop abandoning yourself. The next time that you're presented with a choice that has the capacity to thrill you or excite you or delight you, remember this. Whatever choice you make in that moment is going to create your future reality. But not only that, it's also going to strengthen your tendency to make decisions in the same way going forward. So you can contribute to a future that makes you feel like, I guess it's okay. I should be happy. Or you can contribute to a future that makes you feel like, fuck yes, about your life. Now, obviously, things are going to happen that you cannot predict or control. But if you feel happy with your decisions, you have a much greater chance of being happy with your life and with yourself. Every choice you make will either weaken or strengthen your connection to yourself. So what is the decision that would make you feel like, fuck yes? If this helped you, please share it with someone else who needs to hear it. And if you enjoyed this, leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. That'll help other people find it. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, may you be guided by your light.